The story of the Immortal 300 is a legendary tale carved into the bedrock of world history, a moment when unbreakable courage collided with overwhelming force, when a tiny band of Spartan warriors defied the mightiest empire the ancient world had ever seen. It begins long before the clash at Thermopylae, in the rugged mountains of Laconia, where Spartan boys were raised under a brutal system called the agoge, designed not to create soldiers, but to forge living weapons. From the moment a Spartan child was born, he belonged not to a family, but to the state, judged on strength, inspected for defects, and destined for a life of discipline. By age 7, he entered the agoge, where he learned silence, toughness, pain endurance, stealth, military drill, and unwavering loyalty. This upbringing built a warrior society obsessed with excellence, minimalism, and devotion to the law. Spartans feared nothing, not even death, because glory came not from living long, but from dying well. Their shields symbolized their honor. A Spartan could return without a helmet or breastplate, but never without his shield, because the shield protected the entire formation. This culture produced warriors unmatched in discipline, the perfect soldiers for a moment that would define them for eternity. Meanwhile, far across the east, the Persian Empire under King Xerxes stretched across continents, absorbing kingdoms like waves swallowing sand. After his father Darius failed to conquer Greece, Xerxes vowed to finish the job. He raised the largest invasion force the ancient world had ever seen. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers, fleets of ships, engineers, archers, cavalry, immortals, and enslaved peoples from every corner of his empire. Against this giant, the fragmented Greek city-state stood divided, arguing, bickering, planning, fearing. But one land refused to bow: Sparta. When Greek envoys begged for leadership, all eyes turned to King Leonidas, a seasoned warrior descended from the legendary hero Heracles. Leonidas understood that Greece could not survive a full invasion without buying time. Time for alliances, armies, and strategies. So when the Persian army approached, the Greeks chose the narrow pass of Thermopylae, the hot gates, as the perfect place for a stand. The pass was a funnel between mountains and sea, where numbers meant nothing, where strategy trumped size. But Sparta was bound by religious law, the Carnea festival, during which no full army could march. Still, knowing the danger, Leonidas chose 300 of his finest warriors, each one with a living son to carry his name if he fell. This was not a small army. It was a death squad. They marched not to win, but to hold, to die if necessary, to show the world what freedom costs. As they moved north, other Greek alliances joined them: Thespians, Thebans, Corinthians, Arcadians, and more, forming a small force of roughly 7,000. But the Spartans were the spine, the iron, the discipline tightening the phalanx into a deadly machine. When Xerxes arrived, he expected the Greeks to flee at the sight of his overwhelming numbers. Instead, he found Spartans combing their hair, polishing their shields, and stretching for battle. The Persian king was shocked. He sent a messenger demanding surrender of their weapons. Leonidas answered with two words that would echo through eternity: Molon labe, come and take them. Then the battle began. The Persians charged the narrow pass, but the Spartan shield wall held firm like a stone cliff against the sea. Their formation, interlocking shields and spear points, made them nearly impossible to break. Every Persian push smashed against bronze and discipline. Leonidas rotated his men in shifts, ensuring fresh warriors stood at the front, while the exhausted moved back to recover. The Persians, lacking room to maneuver, were slaughtered in waves. The Spartans fought with precision, teamwork, and silence, their training turning chaos into choreography. Xerxes grew furious, sending in his elite immortals, his best soldiers known for their unbroken ranks. But at Thermopylae, immortality meant nothing. The narrow pass nullified their numbers, their bows, their cavalry. Spartan spears thrust relentlessly, and when those snapped, they used swords, and when swords broke, they used bare hands and teeth. Greek poets say that the dead piled so high, the Persians had to climb over their own fallen to reach the Spartan shield wall. For 2 days, the 300 and their allies held back the world's largest army. But betrayal slithered through the mountains in the form of Ephialtes, a Greek traitor who revealed a secret goat path that bypassed the pass. Once Xerxes learned this, he sent troops to circle behind the Greeks. Leonidas received the news. He understood that the trap was closing, that death was certain. He ordered most Greek allies to retreat, knowing they had families to protect and lands to defend. But he and the 300 Spartans stayed, along with 700 Thebans who refused to abandon them, and 400 Thebans who were forced to remain. With his fate sealed, Leonidas prepared for the final stand. Dawn came. The Persians advanced. The Greeks fought with ferocity beyond human measure, pushing the invaders back again and again. Leonidas personally fought in the front line like a beast unleashed, killing countless enemies, until he himself fell pierced by Persian arrows. The Spartans fought like men possessed, retrieving his body 3 times before they too were overwhelmed. When their spears shattered, they used swords, and when swords broke, they used daggers, and when daggers snapped, they used rocks, shields, and fists. They refused to submit, refused to kneel, refused to retreat. Surrounded on all sides, they formed a tight circle and fought to the very last breath. When the dust settled, the Persians had won the pass, but with a cost so devastating that their victory felt hollow. Xerxes had seen courage so intense that it shook him. The Greeks had witnessed a sacrifice so powerful it ignited unity. News of the 300 spread like wildfire. Across Greece, men who once argued now swore to fight. And when the Persians finally reached the heart of Greece, they found a nation awakened, inspired by the bravery at Thermopylae. Less than a year later, united Greek forces crushed the Persian fleet at Salamis and defeated the Persian army at Plataea. The empire that once seemed unstoppable retreated, never conquering Greece. The sacrifice of the 300 bought time, and more than that, it bought belief. Their stand became the spark that saved Western civilization. The world remembers Thermopylae because it is the story of courage without hope, duty without reward, sacrifice without hesitation. It is the tale of warriors who stood not for themselves, but for freedom. It is the reminder that sometimes the smallest force can shake the mightiest empire. The legacy of the 300 lives on in every story of resistance, every fight for liberty, every moment when impossible odds meet unbreakable spirit. Leonidas and his warriors did not survive the battle, but they achieved something greater than victory. They achieved immortality. Their message, carved in stone near the hot gates, still whisper through time. Stranger, tell the Spartans that we lie here obedient to their laws. But the truth runs deeper. They did not die for laws. They died for the idea that free men are worth defending, that courage can outshine empires, that even in defeat, honor can triumph. And so, the immortal 300 became more than soldiers. They became symbols, legends, eternal guardians of the belief that bravery, when carried to its fullest, can echo louder than any army and last longer than any empire.